Okay, so I was going to use another article for this, but that one disappeared and came up with error 404. So I'm using this one. It has some of the same quotes, so hopefully that is fine. The far-right pair banned from speaking at Auckland Council venues fell off. So straight away that's frustrating because they're not far-right. Lauren is a run-of-the-mill conservative, and Stefan is more libertarian, but they're not far-right or alt-right. That's another term used to describe them a lot of the time. Those terms mean something specific, like alt-right especially is one step away from being a Nazi. They're not even vaguely alt-right or far-right. I wish they'd be specific, because when someone who is really alt-right or really far-right comes along, you'll have no words left to describe them properly. A public talk by two controversial Canadians accused of hate speech has been cancelled after Auckland's Mayor Phil Goff banned them from all council venues. Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux, who are best known for their far-right alternative views on everything from feminism, gender and immigration to Islam, were set to perform at the Bruce Madsen Centre on 3rd of August. However, Auckland Mayor Phil Goff tweeted that the venue should not be used to stir up ethnic or religious tensions, and that Ms. Southern and Mr. Molyneux would not be speaking at any council venues. Auckland Council venues shouldn't be used to stir up ethnic or religious tensions, use it to divide rather than unite a republic, and I have made my views on this very clear. Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux will not be speaking at any council venues. And I find this really frustrating, because there are two options. One is that there are no problems. Diversity is fine, and it's doing well, and there are no problems with it. The second option is that there are problems with it. And now, if it's the first option, then there's no problem with them speaking. If there's no problem with diversity at all, and there's no problems for them to stir up, well, then it doesn't matter. Whatever they say will just not be applicable to New Zealand. Maybe it's applicable somewhere else, but not here. And they should be able to speak, and it will just bounce off us because it will make no difference. Saying there's a problem when there's not a problem, it'll just peter out because there's no problem. But if there are problems, then we desperately need to talk about them. Things can't be sorted out if you don't talk about them. And it's ridiculous not allowing people to talk about problems that are actually there. Anyway, Auckland Live, which runs the centre as well as the Auckland Town Hall, Aotea Centre and Civic Centre, tweeted the event had been cancelled because of security concerns. Not security concerns due to anything Lauren or Stefan would actually do, mind you. Security concerns that violent people might not like what they say. Let's be clear. Cancellation. Stefan Molyneux and Lauren Southern live at Bruce Madsen Centre. For all further inquiries, please contact Axiomatic Events. The event organisers said the decision was disappointing and a blow for democracy. David Pello from Axiomatic Events, said Mr. Goff had the wrong idea about what the pair wanted to talk about. He's misrepresented the purpose of the events as to stir up ethnic and religious tensions. He's misrepresented their views that divide rather than unite, he said. It's a very sad day for democracy and for debate. It doesn't mean we should ban them. However, human rights criminal law barrister Craig Tugg said the pair should be allowed to come to New Zealand and talk about their ideas. There's a lot of their sort of talk worldwide at the moment, and that's attracting debate, and people are getting educated on the issues, and that's probably a good thing. This sort of discussion is alive whether we like it or not. Mr. Tech said dangerous ideas were not the same as dangerous people. You've got people enunciating political and social views, but they're not specifically coming to New Zealand to commit crimes. that coming to New Zealand to spread ideas, however hateful they may be. They're undeniably racist, but that doesn't mean that we should ban them. See, I disagree with undeniably racist part. I don't think they're undeniably racist. I don't think they're racist really at all. I haven't seen everything that they've put on YouTube, but I've seen quite a bit, and I haven't seen anything that has made me think that they're racist. Mainstream media very rarely ever shows Stefan or Lauren actually speaking. It's very rare that they do. A lot of the time, they talk about how they've said racist things, but they don't actually quote them. And they don't show them explaining their positions or points of views at all very much. And when they do, it's very brief. And they cut things to very small amounts. There was a Sunday show on after they'd been banned, and they did show a little bit of an interview with them, but they only showed very small, very cut out pieces, not the entire thing. They didn't show them explaining their views properly, and so no one has the chance to make up their minds independent of whatever slant the journalists put on it, and they do put a slant on it. Their analysis is very slanted. No one has the chance to make up their own minds. They have to have the journalists make up their minds for them. And it's very frustrating. If they were confident in their analysis, then they'd let them speak, let Lauren and Stefan speak, and then they counter the arguments that Lauren and Stefan made. But I don't think they're very confident. I think they have a narrative, they have a worldview, and they're worried that it's going to be punctured. So they don't show them speaking most of the time, and they show the picture of them up on stage, let's say, with sound down, and then they cut to the journalists, and they discuss what you haven't heard them say. So they can... It's very dishonest. Anyway, he said the debate needed to happen in an educated, thoughtful way. That would be fantastic. Mr. Pello said it was too late to try and organise a new venue, but they hoped to still host an evening with Miss Southern and Mr. Molyneux for New Zealanders via the internet. He said those who had purchased tickets from the event at the Bruce Madden Centre would get a full refund. Earlier this year, Miss Southern was banned from entering the UK on grounds of her involvement in the distribution of racist material in Luton, according to the BBC. And yet again, they haven't shown you what the racist material is. They haven't even described the racist material. And I'm not surprised. How is that racist? Allah is a gay god. Where is the race mentioned in that? Allah is not a race. Allah is the deity, a god of the Islamic religion. And race isn't actually mentioned at all in this flyer. But they just say it's racist anyway. And so it's not racist, but is it actually bad in any way? So how is it bad? Are they saying that being gay is bad? And if they are, is the UK government admitting to being homophobic? Because that's the only way you can say that Allah is a gay god is a bad statement. Is if you're homophobic and you think being gay is bad. And, well, I doubt that's the case, really. But they'll say something like, it's a different culture. Multiculturalism. And we're a multicultural society and we must respect the culture. Aren't gays also supposed to be protected in this multiculturalism? Since when did protecting Muslim sensibilities top protecting gay sensibilities? If this was a Christian thing, like Jesus is a gay god, I think they'd probably say something like, of course it's not racist, you're being homophobic, you're being bigoted. Gay people deserve to be reaffirmed, they deserve to be included in the Christian religion. Why aren't they saying the same for the Islamic religion? Why don't gays deserve to be affirmed in the Islamic religion? In fact, that's what started this idea of doing this. Was Jesus gay? According to one theologian, Jesus Christ was both the top and a bottom. And there was no outcry over this. The members of Vice weren't banned from the UK over this article. Of course it wasn't. They're allowed to say things like this. And anyone who is Christian and has a problem with this just has to not read the article. You ignore it if you don't like it. Or alternatively write a counter article if you really want to, saying that this is a stupid idea. I mean, Muslim people could have done the same. They could have handed out flyers saying Allah is not a gay god, or written an article saying this was a stupid flyer, or they could have ignored it. And all those things would have been equally fine, but none of those things were acceptable. They had to take down the flyers, take down the stand, and then they had to ban Lauren from the UK over it. It's just patently ridiculous. And, this was another flyer that she handed out. Allah is gay, Allah is trans, Allah is lesbian, Allah is intersex, Allah is feminist, and Allah is queer, Allah is all of us. So, is the UK government now admitting to be anti-trans, transphobic, anti-lesbian, anti-intersex, anti-feminist? Anti-gay and anti-queer? No, I don't think so. Why is the UK sanctioning Islam's bigotry and homophobia? Because that's what they're doing. In the pursuit of not being called racist, even though no race is mentioned here, and the pursuit of being tolerant to diversity, they're being tolerant to Islam's intolerance of free speech, and the intolerance of gay people. Why are they sanctioning it? She's just going to insult all of us. The Islamic community voiced their opposition to the visit last month. New Zealand Federation of Islam Associations President Hazim Halaf said it had written letters to the Immigration Minister, Minister for Ethnic Communities and Human Rights Commission, asking for Lauren Southern to be denied entry. She abuses her right of freedom of speech. She's just going to give a talk in which she's going to insult all of us, Mr. Halaf said. Okay, point one. She's not abusing her right of freedom of speech. She's not abusing it, she's exercising it. As soon as you don't like what is being said, that doesn't mean freedom of speech is being abused. Freedom of speech is whether you like the speech or not. I don't think insulting Muslims comes under free speech. It's an abuse of freedom of speech. No, it isn't. Freedom of speech covers insults. It covers insults to everybody. You can insult her back if you like. That's fine. But you cannot stop her from insulting people. I'm talking on behalf of 50,000 to 60,000 Muslims in New Zealand who are going to face a very hard time by all the comments she's going to make. Okay, first thing, he does not have the right to elect himself to speak on behalf of 50 to 60,000 people. He could be speaking on behalf of them if they had elected him, but I don't think they have. He cannot just say, that's it. These people are a homogenous group of people. They all have the same opinions. There's no diversity of opinion. They're Muslims, therefore they believe this. they believe what I believe, and they agree with me, all of them. Like, can you imagine 50, 60,000 Christians? Would they all have the same opinion? No, they wouldn't. This is ridiculous. Who is purveying stereotypes now? He is. And no one calls him out on it. Even, let's say they had actually elected him. They hadn't. But let's say they had. He still wouldn't have gotten every single 50 to 60,000 of those people to vote for him. Even if the president or prime minister of a country speaks on behalf of the people, they can kind of do that since they have been generally elected. But there will be lots of people in the country that still disagree with them. No one gets a complete consensus when they win an election. So even if he had been elected, which he hadn't, there would still be a lot of diversity of opinion. And just assuming that he can speak on behalf of people like that is absurd. A petition with more than 1,500 signatures has also been launched on change.org, appealing to the immigration minister to deny Lauren Southern entry. You see, the whole narrative suddenly breaks down. 1,500 signatures. And yet, apparently 50 to 60,000 Muslims all agree with him. Even if we took the lowest figure offered, 50,000, why aren't there 50,000 signatures on the petition already, if they all agree with him? And if we go to the petition, it's already closed, because Lauren's already entered the country and left, but it only got 4,288 signatures. It was aiming for 5,000, but they couldn't even get that. Only 4,288, when apparently 50 to 60,000 Muslims all agree with him. It's just absurd. And the reasons they gave for it, she has blasphemous views on Islam. That's a reason. Deviating from the theology, the generally accepted theology of Islam, is apparently the reason to block someone from entering a country. It's as if we're a theocracy. It's as if we're a theocracy and we're trying to enforce blasphemy laws. She has blasphemous views on Islam. Can you imagine it? This person has blasphemous views on Christianity. Let's block them. This is just insane. That they think that someone disagreeing with them means they shouldn't be allowed to speak, means they shouldn't be allowed in the country. It's just completely absurd. However, Miss Southern, who is a journalist, activist, and filmmaker, said she should be allowed in. As soon as there are people who want to shut down free speech and freedom to come and even visit your nation just because of a differing opinion, you can tell you've got the bug of progressivism, Miss Southern said. A bug of this almost very totalitarian left-wing ideology, which will not end well for you. She herself said Mr. Molyneux would talk about a range of issues affecting New Zealand. Immigration, Western culture, and the preservation of Western culture, and the largely infectious liberal far-left ideologies that are coming and working their way into our media, and why they will lead to the economic, social, and political fall of our nations. Ms. Southern said that she had to say was not hate speech. Hate speech is just a fancy word to describe what is unpopular in this day and age. 100 years ago, I wouldn't be able to question the divine rule of whatever God was in my land. I would be allowed to be pro-gay or pro-mixed race marriage. Today, you're not allowed to be anti-mass migration. You're not allowed to question crazy LGBTQ policies. Anti-immigrant, anti-refugee, anti-feminist. Why is that in there, by the way? Like that line? Why is it there? Massey University far-right expert and pro-vice chancellor Paul Spoonley said some of what the pair had to say was considered hate speech. That is never defined. Sorry, I'll go back to this. It's almost like they sounded far too reasonable in this section. Far too reasonable. And so they had to throw in that to get you back on the right track. Anyway, considered hate speech. They never define exactly what hate speech is. There was this other YouTuber that tried to search in the New Zealand Bill of Rights what hate speech was, where it was, how it was defined, and they couldn't find it in the New Zealand Bill of Rights. I don't think it is actually defined, and I think it's useful for them not to define it, because then they can apply it to anything they like. Anything they disagree with can be called hate speech when the term has never been defined. Some of the things that Molyneux has said about apartheid being a white survival policy and not a racial supremacy policy, and then attacking some of the people who say it is something else, some of these things they say are really quite direct, and it would be very hateful for a number of communities, said Mr. Spoonley. Okay, I don't know what he said about the apartheid or anything like that, but after reading this article, I still don't know what he said, so I still can't make up my mind whether what he said is really objectionable or not. It sounds like it would be, definitely, but again, they haven't quoted him talking about his view. They've only described it and put their slant on it. So, I mean, I might agree with their slant. It might be accurate. But I might not, and they might be screwing it around. They don't give me the opportunity to make up my mind independently. They just hope that I don't go and search for what Mr. Molyneux has said myself. They're part of a broad coalition of people who at the soft end would be pro-Trump, and at the hard end, which I regard both of these being, very white supremacist or believe in the racial superiority of the white people. They believe that immigration undermines countries. Okay, many things about this. First, they're not white supremacists. Go to their YouTube channels, listen to what they say. They're not white supremacists. Secondly, you can believe that immigration can undermine countries without being white supremacist. The two aren't necessarily the same. I mean, you could be white supremacist and believe that immigration undermines countries because it lets in inferior people. Or you could be completely not white supremacist and believe that immigration undermines countries because they let in too many people at once and they can't process them all. Or they can let in too many people and their services, the health services, as for an example, can't keep up. Or that it drives wages down and it makes everybody earn less. Or that the people aren't being vetted properly and they're letting in bad people with it. There are lots of reasons why you could believe that immigration undermines countries. You don't have to be a white supremacist to think that. And linking the two ideas as if they can't be unlinked is very dishonest, it's very disingenuous. But I also want to comment on this thing. A broad coalition of people at their soft end would be pro-Trump, and at their hard end would be white supremacist. That's ridiculous. Why is pro-Trump and white supremacy being linked here? Do the pro-Trump people think they're in a broad coalition with white supremacists? No, they don't. I mean, what about the black people that supported Trump? Are they in a broad coalition with white supremacists? Candace Owens, Kanye West, Larry Elder, they're all African American. Are they in a broad coalition with white supremacists? What about the Latinos that voted for Trump? Are they in a broad coalition with white supremacists? Anyway. They're very anti-immigrant, anti-refugee, and anti-feminist. Mr. Spoonley said there was an alt-right community within New Zealand, but it was very small. He said banning people entering New Zealand would need to meet a very high threshold, and the decision warranted a public discussion. An Immigration New Zealand spokesperson said that they were aware of the two Canadian nationals and was assessing whether any action needs to be taken under the Immigration Act and immigration instructions. Mr. Molyneux heads the organisation Free Domain Radio, an online group that was described as a cult. Again, no explanation. No reasons why it was described as a cult. Nothing to say who described it as a cult. The reason for describing it as a cult, it could be ridiculous. They could have terrible reasons for saying it was a cult that could be totally overstated. Or the person saying it could be a total moron. Or, on the other hand, they could have brilliant reasons for describing it as a cult. They could be absolutely on the nail, on the money. It could be definitely a cult-like. There could be definitely reasons for calling it a cult. They haven't described that here. They've just said it was described as a cult, and that's it, and left us to fill in the gap, the information gap, with our own imaginations and our own prejudices. And to be honest, if there were very, very good reasons, airtight reasons, for describing it as a cult, I think they would have written them. That they haven't written them at all makes me think that they don't have good reasons for saying it was a cult, and they want you to not see the gap, but to fill in the gap automatically with your own assumptions. That might not be true. They might have good reasons for saying it's a cult, and not have included it because they're lazy or something. But that they haven't included the reasons makes me suspicious. Because it's there just so you just fill it in with your own presumptions. And if they had good reasons, then I think they'd write them.